Hey guys, welcome back. So today I'm trying to get everything ready for spray foam installation. The guys just showed up today. They dropped off their scissor lift here, and then they're going to come back in a couple days and they're going to start spray foaming all the walls with spray foam. They're going to put a 2-inch spray foam on the walls, and that'll give me about an R14 insulation value on the walls. And what I just got done doing in the back is that back room is going to be a dog kennel, and then I put in I framed up 2 areas for doggy doors. So there's a doggy door that leads out this direction to this covered porch for a covered run, and then there's a doggy door that goes out that way where we're going to fence in that back side over there, and it'll be like an outside run. And so I wanted to get that framing in the walls before they put the spray foam on. So now, you know, I just got done moving all this tools and stuff in here, but now to get ready for those guys, I've got to move everything away from the walls. I'm going to have to move everything to the center of the room so that I don't have anything in the way of them spray foaming. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to start trying to move all of the tools and all the stainless steel tables. I'm going to try to get those all to the center of the room. That way everything is ready for the spray foam guys. Well, I think I've got everything moved to the middle of the garage so that they can spray foam. I did, after I put those doggy doors on the wall, I looked at them and I was like, man, I don't like the way that is. So I went back there and I ended up changing something. So let me show you what that is. So I think I had my height okay, yeah. So I think I have the height of the doggy door okay. It seems to be about the right height that scouts back. And what I didn't like is I had it sitting on the outside of this board. I ended up notching it so it could go right up against that insulation and make a nice seal. And that'll keep the spray foam from getting inside of this area, because we're going to cut this area out later and we're going to end up making you know, the doggy door in this area for these guys. So that's what I ended up doing. I think that'll be better off being up against the original insulation. So there it is. So I told the contractor that I didn't want any spray foam right next to the breaker panel. So I've marked it off with duct tape. That's what I told him I would do. So I'm fine if he puts spray foam from here on up, or if he spray foams this bottom couple feet down here, just as long as he gives me about a foot around the panel so that I can do my wiring and wire up the building. So I also have these conduits that they're in the concrete floor and come up the wall. And I've cut them off at the same height. I've covered them up with duct tape to make sure no foam gets inside of them, plus to keep the ends clean. Now, one thing I think I'm going to do, I think I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to put another piece of wood behind them and see if I can flex these out a little bit. Get them a little bit farther from the wall. All right, so now the conduits are spaced out. Maybe 3.5, 4 inches from the wall now, so that ought to be plenty of space for them to put foam behind there. So the guys did message me today, and they're actually going to come tomorrow and start putting spray foam on the walls. They're going to come a day early. Now, it doesn't happen very often with contractors for them to show up actually a day early instead of later. So I think I've got everything ready for them. So they're going to start putting it on tomorrow while I'm at work, so I'm going to miss out on watching them be able to put this on. But when I come home from work tomorrow night, this should be totally different. We should have at least half of these walls should be covered with spray foam, and it won't be so shiny and reflective as it is now. So we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll see exactly how much they got done. So I just got home from work, and I opened up the pole barn and came out here to see what they got done, and it's looking good so far. They've got a little bit more than half of it done. You can see all the spray foam down on the walls. So I think they started back over here and they've worked their way around to this corner where the electrical panel is, and they really only have the south wall left to do. But let's go ahead, we'll take a little bit closer look at some of the details and what they're doing to try to prevent, the spray foam from getting on everything else. So this is the electrical panel that I didn't want them spraying foam right next to. So they did, keep the foam about a foot from the top and the bottom, and they still went ahead and they sprayed the corners on each side, and that makes sure it has like an airtight seal. And they did cover the electrical panel up to make sure no overspray got on there. You can see on this black trash bag, you can see how much overspray actually happens. So they do have to try to cover everything up to keep that from getting on the concrete and from getting on the windows and doors. So it looks like along the wall where they're spraying, they end up putting house wrap. Looks like they got house wrap laying on the floor, and it looks like they take that and they put that right next to the wall to try to keep the spray foam from getting on the concrete. Now obviously they didn't have it laid perfectly. Down here there's a one spot that the spray foam actually comes out from the edge of the post about 3 inches. A little bit farther than I would want. But they may end up trying to clean that up or scrape that off. But overall, the majority of the little bit of foam that's on the concrete along the edge, that'll all get covered up with the wall. When we put wall coverings on here, it should cover up any of that, most of it at least. So here's the conduit that comes out of the concrete, and we space that out from the wall to keep it out of the foam, and you can see I can get my hand around it, so I'll be able to work with that. I can add more conduit onto that, no problem. Over here you can see the spray foam that I was talking about, how it's on the floor and it comes out a little bit from the wall. But I can see that actually will clean up fairly well. As we look down the wall, you'll see it's all clean. So right here's the spot we were just looking at, and then back here you can see they've already cleaned this all up, and all the spray foam is cleaned up off the concrete, and it looks like it cleans up pretty good. So here's where we framed out the doggy door, and you can see they spray foam completely around it, but I don't have any foam in the middle. So that seemed to work out pretty good. I'm going to come back later and we'll cut this section out and put the doggy door in when we build the kennel. So right here it looks like they've got it all ready so they can start spray foaming tomorrow. They've got their house wrap down on the ground. They've got cardboard stapled up around the windows to keep any foam off the windows. They also have cardboard around the door over there to keep any foam from getting on there. So it looks like they're either using cardboard or some kind of plastic to cover things up. And so far, everywhere that they've gone and they've cleaned the floor up afterwards, everything looks real good where they went back and cleaned everything up. So pretty happy with the way it's looking. So one other thing I'll point out is above the lean-to right here at the top of the roof of the lean-to, there's actually a short section of wall right up here. And that's just below the ceiling in this room. And they've went ahead and they've spray foamed that and made sure that was all sealed up. So it looks like the guys are doing a good job. They're definitely, looks like they're getting everywhere that needs to be spray foamed. So they finished up the spray foam last night and everything looks good. I'm very happy with the way it all turned out. Everything is nice and neat. They've cleaned up after themselves. It looks like they've swept the floor, and it looks like they did a good job of masking everything off. I haven't seen foam on anything that shouldn't have it on there. So I don't think they accidentally sprayed something and got foam on something they shouldn't have. So everything looks nice and neat. These guys do a really good job. It looks good. So I was curious on whether they would actually spray in between the window and the wooden window frame and try to seal around the window. And they didn't do that. I mean, this is just a pole barn. They did do that in our house. They did all the windows and doors, and they made sure our house was completely sealed up, because this is the same company that did our house. And they didn't do it out in the pole barn. I don't think that's a big deal. You got to keep in mind there's 3 big garage doors on the front, and those garage doors are always going to leak a little bit of air. So this building's not going to ever be completely sealed up anyway. So I believe that this is closed cell insulation, and we had them put 2 inches on the wall. They said that was about an R14 value, and you can see after 2 inches on the wall, you can see I've still got about 4 inches here inside of the wall cavity so that I can do my wiring and put in my outlets. And I've opted to wait till they were done because I knew I'd still have plenty of space to do my wiring afterwards. So around the garage doors, they actually did put foam in between the 2 posts here, between the garage doors. And at the top of the ceiling, they filled up and foamed above the garage doors up to where the ceiling height will be. And there's a lot of garage door hardware right there. You know, you got your coil spring right there, you got your track for your motor, you got the tracks for the doors, and they've done a good job of masking that off. It doesn't look like they got any spray foam on any of the garage door hardware, so that's good as well. So it looks like they've done a pretty good job of getting everything insulated and not getting it where it wasn't supposed to be. So let's go ahead and get into the cost of the spray foam. So 2 inches of spray foam to cover all the walls, not the ceiling or anything else, just the walls. And these walls in here are 14 feet tall. So this main room, they had to spray foam up 14 feet high in this room. Now in the back rooms, the ceiling height is only 10 feet. So they only had to spray foam 10 feet tall in those areas in the two rooms. And I'll try to calculate up what the square footage is. I'll try to put that on the screen here. But the total cost for the spray foam was $5,700. And that wasn't something that I decided on at the beginning of this build. I kind of sat on that for a while and I quoted it, and it took me a while to decide on whether I wanted to spray foam it. Now, I think there's 2 main reasons why I ended up deciding to go ahead and have this done. One is time. I've got so many other things that I'm doing out here right now, especially with hay season coming up, and I've got all the animals that we're taking care of and everything we're trying to do. I don't feel like I had much time to do this, and I think it would have took me at least a couple weeks or a couple weekends of trying to hang the insulation bats and trying to insulate the walls. And so one was time. I just didn't feel like I had much time to do it. The second one was I do think this is a better product. I think this seals up better. I think it insulates better. The reason I think that is because we had our house spray insulated. Now I think it has some closed cell foam in the basement on the walls. It has some open cell foam in the basement on the walkout wall, and it has cellulose, like spray cellulose in the upper parts of the. So I have all different types. Let's just say that we have all different types in that house, but after they've insulated that, my monthly bills for our house, our utility bills to heat and cool this house is like $150 average a month for the year. And I think that that's good. So our electric bill runs somewhere lower than that, and then we only have our propane filled up every 2 years to have the tank filled up. So that ends up coming out to about $150 a month. And that is way cheaper than my last house. So I think that I'm sold on it just because I know that it's so cheap to heat and cool our house. So I do think it's a good product. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start putting all this stuff back where it's supposed to be. Start getting all my tools laid back out the way I want them, get everything in place. And I think we're free now to go ahead and really start wiring the pole barn. So we're going to go ahead and we'll get outlets on the walls. We'll get lighting in the ceiling. I think I've decided, I've played around with some lights. I think I've decided what lights I want. So we will go ahead and get outlets and lights in here and make the space usable. And we will be having the concrete guys come in here, and hopefully in the next couple weeks they'll show back up here, and we'll get this concrete pad poured in the front of the pole barn. That'll be the next 2 things coming up on the pole barn build. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and start getting this place set back up. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.